Paul Green and Daly Cherry-Evans there, they didn't really offer much, I have to say, after one of the poorest series in Queensland's Origin history. DCE touching on the lack of motivation, and perhaps New South Wales had more motivation, and that's why this has panned out the way it was, which is bizarre because it's State of Origin and that is the only motivation you should need. It was disappointing to hear them just shroud themselves in the Ronaldo Mulitalo situation when I think they could have used this opportunity to address Queensland and say, we're sorry, we've lost the series, that was not up to scratch, and we're going to look at reasons why. I think they probably got bogged down in eligibility when that's not the issue.
What a deflection that was.
Yeah.
For the first 5 minutes, we're talking about Ronaldo Mulitalo and that Queensland's decision, Queensland's stuff up. They made the wrong decision. They got it wrong. They pulled him out on game day, and that's all they wanted to talk about. You know, I said before game one with Paul Green, he was so focused in game one about making sure his side was the underdog. I saw it as poor leadership. I saw it as an excuse, and I see that the same. You know, I mean, that should not be your focus after a loss like that. Record-breaking, poor performance in both games 1 and 2. And all he was worried about was Ronaldo Mulitalo and him being pulled out of the game this morning. That was insignificant with that performance. Ronaldo wouldn't have changed that. Yeah. This is my opinion, but... How
does that sit with you, Cooper?
Yeah, look, no, I don't even think Ronaldo Mulitalo's conversation should have come up. It's an error that happened and they'll deal with that over the course of time. I personally think there was zero conviction there. If that was me sitting there as Daly Cherry-Evans, I'd put my hand up saying, look, as the captain of the halfback, and we scored 6 points in this series, it's basically not all on me, but there's a large percentage that's on me because I didn't tell a certain person to get this field position. I didn't have my lead runners at exactly the right time because that's what breaks down good defensive teams. So for me, the lack of motivation, this is Origin. This is 34 of the best players in the world. You're playing at Suncorp. Trust me, I've run out on the Suncorp a number of times. There's enough motivation in that raw once you run out on that field. So, look, I think they were talking in circles a little bit. At the end of it, you lost Origin series. Nothing wrong with putting your hand up and owning it and saying, hey, this will never happen again and I'll be fighting my way back next year. That's all in game 3.
Which is probably just what the fans wanted to hear, is a bit of ownership over that really poor performance.
Yeah, there's some real cracks in amongst the Queensland camp. By the sounds of things, it sounded like Paul Green wasn't overly comfortable. He said that they handled the Mulitalo situation well, but he also said in amongst that there were a number of conversations that went on today regarding that, so I think there's more to that story. But Ronaldo Mulitalo, with all due respect, is not Josh Papali'i or Cameron Munster. It was a guy on debut, and the story behind it was beautiful. The fact that, you know, he wanted to play for the Broncos and he wanted to play for the Maroons, brilliant. But he wasn't going to change the result tonight. The other big concern was the fact that Paul Green said in the first press conference that he sat down that he let a few things go in the first camp in their preparation that he needed to jump on top of, and clearly in some of the comments from Daly Cherry-Evans that they weren't prepared to the level that they needed to be. The fact that they weren't motivated enough, that New South Wales, just because they got beat in last year's series, were more motivated than them. As Cooper said, running out onto Suncorp Stadium, should they need any motivation in an Origin game? As a Queensland side that had been beaten by 50 points to 6 in Townsville, going back home to the cauldron of Suncorp, do they need motivation? And the fact that they're now questioning their playing style is a huge concern for Paul Green and the staff's coaching. The fact that they feel like they've run out of answers and need to change things up, and you've got the captain of Queensland saying there, we've got nothing to lose going to New South Wales. Nothing to lose. Nothing to lose in an Origin game. I don't know. Am I reading that? Am I reading that wrong?
No, you're right. They've got everything to lose. They've lost it already, but you know, it's
just a throwaway line when you're talking about the series all being done and dusted. But for me, the fact is that the motivation wasn't there, or lack of motivation because you won the series before. Well, I'll tell you what, when you get named in a Queensland Origin team, that is all the motivation you need to go out and play. Because there are thousands of kids that will go to school disappointed tomorrow because we lost the series. So for me, that's enough. Zero conviction, put your hand up, didn't play well, all okay. Go out and have a red-hot crack game 3.